Hey, hey, nation, it's the Harry and Frank show. We go around the horn every month, and here's what's cool. We're actually in our primary corporate domiciles this month. So that's kind of cool, Frank, that with the busy fall season, it can be a challenge to actually be at your office and not on the road. Upcoming, before we jump into this topic, Frank and I will be at Spice World, which is from Spice Works, and that is the fourth week of September. So September 2-3 through September 2-5, bring your costume. It's the Comic Con of the IT world. Bring your costume. I think I will come is Marilyn Monroe. Frank Ohlhorst, analyst out of New York. What costume are you going to wear, my friend?
I thought we were going to dress up as the Spice Girls to go to Spice World.
There we go. There we go. All right, I'll go back to the costume store. Hey, Frank, it's back to school. It's fall. We all enjoyed a fast summer. You have successfully survived at least one storm that was threatening, and so on. Frank, let's jump into it. You were doing some analysis and writing about education and training, super timely with fall upon us and that back to school mentality. So what's news, man? What are you saying out there?
Well, I've been taking a long, hard look at, IT training, certificates, and all the things around that, trying to determine, where the value is there for especially those in the channel. And what I've been seeing is a trend among the organizations out there, such as CompTIA and even like Cisco and Microsoft, to kind of shift the training to be more real world, more applicable, to actually put real world situations in front of students to educate them on how to solve these problems. That in turn is bringing additional value back into the whole certification process.
Okay.
Cisco has redone a lot of their training and certifications, and CompTIA has done, enhancements to their Security Plus and Linux Plus, and even their A Plus sets.
The old cash cow. The old cash cow, A plus.
Yeah. Hey, like you, I did that way back when. I think I did mine back in '98 or so. And I've done the Linux Plus, and I've done Networking Plus, and I've done Security Plus. And you know what? All the ones that I've done probably don't matter anymore because things have changed so much.
Amen.
So, and I'm wondering if part of this enhancement in the training is to kind of for these organizations to resell these certifications again, via evolution, just like we've seen Microsoft do with, the MCSE stuff, where, hey, a new version of Windows Server comes out. Guess what? There's a new training and new certification.
And I got to tell you, back in the day when I was doing some exam crams, so MCSE, the famous Red Book 7282 to become a Microsoft small business specialist. In fact, here, Frank, to catch what you're throwing, here's exactly that. We had the Red Book on 7282, and then they updated the exam, and they also added a SharePoint exam as qualifying. And so, dude, we love product revs. That's how you made money as an author.
Hey, I helped you out. I contributed to some of your books. I thought it was great. Change was a great thing to, to make money on. The problem is though, change has to be constant in the IT world.
Yeah.
And where I'm starting to see some of the biggest change when it comes to, IT certification and training is in the whole realm of cybersecurity. We're starting to see more and more organizations come forth to do training on cybersecurity. We're starting to see more and more certifications out there, and we're starting to see that rapidly evolve into a hands-on ideology when it comes to that training. And when it comes to the channel itself, I don't think there could be any type of training or certification process more important than cybersecurity today? Because you have so many MSPs looking to get into that game of the MSSP,
Yeah.
the managed security services provider. And to be successful at that, you have to know about, white hat techniques. You have to know about, penetration testing. You have to know, the underpinnings of
Yeah.
TCP IP. You have to know all these things. And
Yeah.
the biggest challenge right there is that, we've got so many positions to fill and so many people that claim to be able to do those jobs. And many MSPs are finding out that's not really the case. Just because someone can throw a few terms around doesn't mean they can be effective in that role. And I think this is where this real world certification and training is going to come into play, that where, in the not too distant future, someone could say that they have a SANS certificate or CompTIA Security Plus certificate, that it actually means something other than knowing what all the acronyms are. It demonstrates that you're able to perform in the role.
Now you're getting a little close there, because this book is from what they called the paper MCSE era, where it was acronyms and rote memory. So watch it, buddy boy, watch it. You're getting a little close to the fire.
Oh yeah, hey, both you and I, have dealt with plenty of those paper MCSEs and CNEs and master CNEs. We saw them all over the place in the industry. And, for those of us that, went through trial by fire, hands-on and going through the proper training, the ability of these documentations and courses to teach nothing more than how to take a test actually weakened our value.
Yeah, it did. It did. Yeah, I agree. Hey, Frank, let me take a turn with the conversation. Earlier today, one of our contributors, such as yourself, Lisa Hendrickson, I'll introduce you to Lisa if you don't know her.
I know Lisa.
She has, okay, great. She has a community called Call That Girl. She is a Outlook and 365 expert, sticks to the knitting. She stays on the ranch. And so she moved back to her home region in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area recently to start graduate school. She had the fire inside. It leads to a conversation. Well, let me give you the update that we just spoke with her about. She's actually deferring grad school until a better time, instead of this fall, and she's looking at the PMP project management certificate. So the idea was this, is that she's had a great multi-decade run as a technician and niched on Outlook. She wants to do something different now, which is completely fair, and she holds herself out to have project management expertise, just running a business and doing projects, and she wanted to validate it with an MBA. That has now been put on pause, and she's looking at the certification PMP and some others out there, and Scrum and so on. So Frank, finally the question: formal education versus certificates. Go.
Well, we can look at it from 2 points of view.
That's a big question.
I know, and I don't want to insult either of us and talk about the MBA path and what that really means nowadays, as opposed to what certification brings you.
Yeah,
I think certification tied with certificate type education is a wonderful thing to have on top of traditional education.
Yeah.
Now, if you remember, back in the days of earning our MBAs, what was it really about? It was about learning how to do things yourself and proving that you were able to do them. It wasn't sitting in a classroom and having someone lecture at you like, pre-grad school is, just the talking head in front of the room of 500 people, and then you take a test. Grad school, whether it's going for a doctorate or an MBA or a master's or anything, is more about the hands-on ability to accomplish something. And that feeds itself very, very well into that certificate process.
Yeah, yeah. Here's what the MBA program was for me, because on the one hand, I probably didn't need to go get an MBA. I grew up in a business family. The people that I see benefit more than I in the MBA are typically foreign nationals who come over to the U.S. My sister's second husband was a PhD out of Russia in math and was learning English, and his Seattle employer paid for his executive MBA at the University of Washington. Now, Frank, that made sense because he didn't understand U.S. business, right? That made plenty sense. However, what my MBA did for me was it taught me to prioritize, because the workload was about 3 times the workload of undergrad. So it's kind of that first year of law school feeling where you have to read 900 pages by Monday, and you cannot read 900 pages by Monday. So you get very good at trying to figure out, what does the professor want? How am I going to prioritize? What's important? Or you don't make it. And Frank, I had the necessity, and I also think the blessing of having a day job at a savings and loan and real estate finance while I was in grad school at night. And boy, howdy, I was getting a double dip. I was learning how to work and weaving that into the fabric of the MBA program. But back to my first point, when you're working your way through college, you really learn how to prioritize, okay?
That's very true. And I think the other important thing that, something like an MBA program delivers is it teaches you how to talk the lingo of business. So that you can work with other MBAs. Now, there was a point in time when, if you were a Harvard MBA, you would rule the world. I think we don't see that anymore. Now, doing a segue into where certificates earn you, value in the business world is that, all right, let's say you have an MBA or your bachelor's degree, a bachelor's degree in business, or even an IT or something along those lines. You've learned kind of the lingo of business and the prioritization of business. The certificates bring you the ability to execute on that.
I would agree.
I think that's where that's kind of important, because if you look at, any MSP or MSSP, what's the first letter stand for? Managed. In other words, you have to know how to manage things and deal with management.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but the technology and the skill set comes second to that, because if you can't manage what's going on, how can you service a customer?
Exactly. Two thoughts. One was, you mentioned the Harvard MBA. In our ecosystem, I'm only aware of 2 people with a Harvard MBA. So you have Greg Lissy, who is a VP of product development at SolarWinds. Okay, did his undergrad at Duke and an MBA at Harvard. And Frank, I respect that. And he's right-sized. I mean, SolarWinds IPO, that makes sense, right? There's street cred, and he's a smart guy. The other is Jeff Uphughes, the tallest man in the channel. He is the CEO of a big data center, kind of along the lines of I'm gonna forget, but let's say that they're a second tier beneath Google Cloud, AWS, and Azure, right? There are some second tier data center players. And again, he's the CEO of a company that's raised a heck of a lot of money. He needs the street cred, God bless him. But and then back to the certificate thing. Here's what I've seen with the big data startup I did a few years ago. I was learning on the job, so I was being trained in predictive analytics and machine learning as much as I wanted to be. And I looked around at what the possibilities were. And Frank, I got to be honest, the certificates were better than the graduate programs. So Galvanize, a nationwide training organization, had a really good data science certificate, like a 6-month commitment with Python and R, stuff that's way out of my league. But the point is, I did take some time, and maybe what I'm really trying to say, Frank, is the certificates are more nimble and agile than the academic degrees, right? Academia tends to lag behind. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, you know,
Yeah,
when I
yeah,
started on my computer science degree, I worked at an IBM 370 with punch cards.
yeah.
Meanwhile, the rest of the world had moved over
Jenny,
to
edit that
terminals.
out. Yeah, edit that out, Jenny, so we don't date ourselves. But go on, Frank.
Yeah, but the rest of the world, the real world, had moved on to terminals and being able to
Yeah,
do on-screen coding years before that. But in the academia, it
yeah.
lags behind, and probably no technology segment moves as fast as IT.
Right,
So,
right.
but that said, even though the tools I used and what I learned on were not applicable out in the real world, it did create the disciplines to be successful. And I think that's where the difference comes in. The regular academic path should establish those disciplines, and
Yeah.
where the certificate path gives you that real world knowledge to actually accomplish something based upon those disciplines. Now, I'm not saying that you have to go and get, a bachelor's in computer science like, we have done, or have to go get your MBA. I'm just saying that, they are a different path to success. Whether or not that's worth the investment today is now questionable.
It is. It is. Programs are closing. They've lowered their standards. I am just dumbfounded. The University of Denver, which is where I went, good college. They now have a GMAT score waiver to the MBA program, and I'm like, well, that devalues what I did, right? That devalues what I had to go through. But Frank, the landscape has changed. I mean, law schools are closing. Some graduate programs are closing. I'll end on this, and I welcome your feedback. So another conversation we had earlier this week, an executive at phone.com. They have been good citizens in the MSP community for those that want to add voice to data. Joel Maloff, and again, goes back with SMB Nation about 12 years. And he is a thinking man. So he's been an adjunct instructor at Colorado Technical University online. And he just started, he's Frank, to be honest, he's a little bit older than both you and I. And that's a valid point because he just started his doctorate degree to take him to the next level in the academia community. and Frank, what I'm getting at is there are late stage professionals, mid stage, late stage that go back to grad school is more of a passion project. I call it, you're writing your obituary, right? That, hey, I want to have, they can't take it away. If I get an MBA, I can't lose it in bankruptcy and it's going to be, forever travels with me, right? So that's a valid point. I mean, you see it with empty nesters. So maybe a mom who's an empty nester goes back and gets her degree in theology. She feels strongly, right? It's all good.
It's a trophy for the shelf. That's undeniable, but it also fits into what maybe you want to give back in one respect as well.
Yeah.
You look at a lot of career politicians that retire out of politics. What do? They go into academia and they become professors.
Yeah,
And
they do.
it's not just for a paycheck, but they feel that they have some sort of knowledge or some sort of insight that can benefit others. And
Yeah.
it is kind of a noble cause when you look at it that way. Now, if you look
Yeah.
at kind of what we've done in the past when it comes to education, or writing books to help people learn things or educate people. I've been an adjunct professor at a local community college, teaching, I'll age myself, teaching Word Perfect and things like that. Um,
Yes, sir.
there is, a value to doing that. And, if you look at a lot of the certificate programs that colleges are doing, especially community colleges, they do their 1-year certificate programs. They take people that are either, established in their career or in the twilight of their career, and they put them in front of a classroom to, to teach what they've learned from life. And I
Yeah.
think there's still a lot of value to that as well.
Yeah, and I'll end on this for this month. Good topic, by the way. Big topic, good topic. But what we're seeing at the University of Denver, because I still stay in touch and I get their periodic junk mail to, please contribute to the new athletic center, which I'll never use. But Frank, what they've done and colleges are doing, and this is very interesting because colleges at the end of the day are a business, and
Yes.
they have gone to the retirement communities, the assisted living communities. They have a van that will drive you to the University of Denver, and that has been a gold mine. The senior citizen who wants to keep it sharp, keep the wetware fine tuned. They're paying the University of Denver they're paying a handsome fee for a certificate, and DU, as we call it, it's not it's called DU. But Frank, that's a profit center and a good one. So
Yes. And, looking at kind of this ideology around certificates and education, and let's bring this fully
yeah,
back to the MSP market as well. There is no reason why MSPs couldn't get involved in the educational market for teaching their clients how to properly do things in a digitally transformed world.
yeah,
Even if you put together, simple classes for like, what is the proper way to use SharePoint, from the end user's point of view, and offer some type of a pseudo certificate so that that business can say to the employee, hey, we've educated you, here's your certificate.
yeah,
Kind of as, an employee retention thing and bringing value all around. So I think there's a large potential for that to be done, especially when it comes to ensuring privacy and protecting intellectual property, where if MSPs went out and taught people how to, oh, this is how you identify phishing, spyware,
yeah.
things that happen like this. I think all of that would lend itself very well to a business model that an MSP can offer, and also, elevate them when it comes to the market. Not only can we address your IT needs for your business, we can help educate your people to leverage your investment in IT.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a whole nother ball of wax. We're out of time, but that's a whole nother thing that I believe strongly in about the sort of societal support for education. For example, Seattle can trace success to the university system. Austin can trace success to the University of Texas. Versus my home state of Alaska, they're essentially shutting down the University of Alaska in a fiscal crisis. And sir, that's the kiss of death. That's a real problem. And I'll leave us on that negative note for this month. I'll see you in Austin. Let's go to the University of Texas. And have a great day, my friend.
You too, and happy belated birthday to you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Absolutely. See you in about 10 days. Thanks, Jenny, over in the radio control room. Have a great day, everybody.